Hmm. Blessings, beautiful beings. I'm Elaine with Heart Activation. Welcome to another episode of Heart Musings. In Heart Musings, what we do is we contemplate and discuss things that are commonly brought up when we are experiencing big life transformations, such as how do we learn to gain acceptance? How do we learn unconditional love? How do we forgive? These common yet very difficult concepts and conversations are definitely ones that need to be had. And here I will be sharing my insights on these conversations. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to sharing this space.
Recording in progress. So, yes, that's so fascinating because typically, especially with Aquarius, so now is he like as age has moved on? I know, has he become more like a mutable sign because Aquariuses are very
Fixed sign, right? Okay,
yeah.
so the way that, when you think of where the sun is in your natal chart, so his sun is at 26 degrees of Aquarius. So what that means in how life plays out is the sun moves 1 degree every year. So
Right.
by the time he was 4 or 5, his progressed sun was trekking through Pisces for 30 years. So all the way until he was about 35. And during that time, excuse me, he's had some, well, he doesn't remember, but I remember him sharing with me that he had some mystical experiences when he was very young. And then of course, as he grew up, he was very much the derelict. Is that the right word? No, he was the thief. He was a thief. He was in and out of jail and prison, and he was hooked on drugs. He was a meth head. So all that stuff going on during his time while his son was progressing through Pisces, which of course that is a part of the Piscean energy. There's many different beautiful rays and how we can play within the Pisces energy. And then now, of course, his son has been going through Aries for a little while. So he gets out of prison in his early 30s, and he's met with a ready-made family, which includes one of his sons, because he has 2 sons. And then, because he got together with me, and it's funny because I was sick at the time because I was disabled. I was diagnosed and disabled at the time with fibromyalgia. And I couldn't do anything. I was at the lowest and worst point. I was bedridden, so I couldn't get out of bed much. He had to pretty much take care of everything.
Wow.
Yeah, which was a real, I mean, that was totally different than what he was used to. He grew up where his parents took care of everything for him. And then, of course, going from parents to prison or jail and then prison takes care of everything for you. And then coming out and, well, you have to go back to work. I mean, you have to go to work for the first time seriously. And then he did work in prison, don't get me wrong. And so he did learn work ethic in there. So he had to go to work, and he had to help take care of kids and a house. And so, yeah, that was really crazy. But, as so when we got back together back then, the nodes were in the same place they are now. Yeah. Yeah. That's why this whole last basically 20-year experience has changed. This year has been life-changing for us in a huge way. And it took me a minute, but I realized it was the nodal, part of that was the nodal thing. And remember how before I was talking about how when we have abstract circuitry, for example, in human design, we don't know why we're in the experience during the experience until after it's over. And that's what's been happening this year too. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. And that was like about 2003 then?
Yes. Yep. That 2004, January 2004 is when he literally got out when I went and picked him up. But 2003 in August is when we decided to make a go of it and see what happens. And we ended up getting married 3 years after that. And yeah, we started a business 3 years after we got back together. And then we got married. And then we closed that business down at the end of the year. So we started and closed a business in 1 year. We were, especially him, very immature, made some huge mistakes. And it ended up, we had to close the business down, and that's okay. So now this year, he started, well, actually 2 years ago, he started a lawn mowing business. And, nothing really came about with that. I wasn't interested in it, and he thought that I would sell for him. Like, yeah, no, I can't even sell for myself. And if I were going to do sales, it's not that.
Yeah.
Because I can make way more money selling cars. So so this year he started his construction business, and then it's funny because earlier this month I was looking to find somebody to help me with his business, to help me learn to learn more about how to manage, like the accounting and all that kind of stuff. And because we did an LLC. And so I went into one of the entrepreneurial Facebook groups for human design peeps.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see if I could find somebody who may be able to help me out, that I could hire just to teach me some things, and I can be on my merry way. And then I saw a post in there for a mastermind. It happened to be Jess's mastermind. And I thought, oh, that'd be so cool. But it was for manifestors. So I left, I didn't, respond or anything like that. But the next morning I heard, get up and go in that group. You need to find some help, for my husband's business. And so I went in that group. It was like, you got to go find Jess. You got to go back in that group, and you got to see if she'll let you in that group, to contact her. And I was going to tell her that I'm really a manifester. I can prove it to you by telling you what Ra actually said about manifesting generators with my particular channel. And it ended up that another manifesting generator had replied to her post and said that they wanted to be part of it. Anyways, long story short, she accepted me in, and it ended up being that I ended up hiring her as a business coach for my business, not even thinking about my own career, because I totally forgotten about the whole career thing with the pattern. And then on Monday, August 22nd, I registered my business as an LLC. Woo! Yes. Now I'm so before I would not create the container until I had the customers. I was waiting, and I didn't figure it was even worth creating a business unless I had the customers. I was doing it backwards. And now I realized that I needed to create the container. The number 60 in the gene keys and the human design chart is where my Venus is.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the fourth line of resources. And the 60, what I've written about that is that is the architect, the container, the blueprint to hold what it is that we want to do, what it is that we imagine in the 41, which is the very next gate, and happens to be my North Node in Aquarius.
Wow. I'm like, that's just so much. That's so cool. Wait, so when I've been meaning to ask though, when you say the pattern, are you talking about the app, the pattern?
Yes.
I love that one. I was like,
Yes.
oh, she did that on there, but I love that. Okay, so I'll have to add you on there too.
Yep. Yeah, you'll find me. It's intuitive human design. I just use
Okay.
that with everything because, same image, same picture across the board, same name, intuitive human design, because it makes it that much easier. If somebody were to come across me and try to find me, oh, intuitive human design, maybe I can find her that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, makes so much sense. So that is so fascinating just to continue to have all of these confirmations
Yes.
and also to have all of like the right players a part of this too.
Yes.
It's like the energy that goes into the beliefs of like where we are at and where we are going, I guess.
Absolutely.
So important.
Yeah. And then, with doing that, the other thing that I've noticed is that some of the ideas that I've had have been expanding. So like I got, so like one of the things that I want to do is like courses, of course, and intuitive human design ways. I have had people ask me to teach, but I guess part of me has not wanted to really teach in the sense that it's already out there. There's already so much out there. And I want to do something different. I want to be different. If I'm going to create courses and teachings and stuff like that, when it comes to intuitive human design, I want it to stand out as different. And so I've been receiving ways of doing that because I'm much more than human design. There's astrology too. And one of the ways that came to me recently was with the centers. When I do the centers is to incorporate the like the archetypes of the signs that the gates are in possibly. But definitely, even if I didn't do that, what I definitely will be incorporating is intending with the centers and the wisdom through the centers. So yeah.
So the centers, now that is the podcast that you were on the other
Yeah, the live that I did in Jill's group. Yeah, that I
Yeah.
just uploaded to my YouTube channel. Yep.
Okay.
That was a fun conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I will have to check that out because it is fascinating. I mean, all of it's so fascinating. It's always like, so when do you consider yourself to be a master?
Right? Yes, the authority in an area. Yeah, which I
Yeah.
have that. And that's part of the reason why of the stepping into this year, because, when we're looking at an astrological chart, for example, we find that within the Capricorn, Saturn, 10th house archetype, the elder wisdom, the authority in a certain area, and also about creating our reality. Or I would like to say it in this way, is bringing into form that which we desire to have in our reality.
Bringing into form with that which we desire to have in our reality.
Yeah, or bringing into form our reality, period, just bringing into form our reality. And the reason why this is something I've been contemplating lately, because there's really no new creation per se. I mean, energy is never destroyed or created. Everything that is. It is. There is no, it's not like, what it is more of like bringing into form. It is bringing it into form. So it's like when when we look at it from the quantum field perspective, and we're looking at all the different possibilities, or we're not looking, because once we observe that, it collapses that wave into a particle and it brings it into form.
So yeah, because you like, so when you actually observe, like, okay, so I guess I never, like, because I knew even just from observing an object, the energy changes. It just changes, but I didn't
When you're
visualize it.
not observing it, though, it's in waveform. So what's
Okay,
behind
that
you?
makes
I
total
can see what's
sense. Yeah.
behind you, but you cannot see what's behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So until you turn, you're not really seeing anything. They could all just be in waves, like that old
Yeah.
Adam, if a
Yeah.
tree falls in the
Okay.
forest and nobody's there and
Yes.
hears it, is it
Mhm.
really? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is so interesting because I've been reading Alan Watts, the book,
Oh, I
which,
love Alan Watts.
oh my gosh, it's so fascinating. I mean, I'm like, there are things that I've known, it's just like how we're talking. It's like we known that, but now that I'm reading it, it's like it comes into a different form,
Integration.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. And he basically goes into the whole, the tree falls in the forest,
Mm-hmm.
actually falls. So yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really amazing book, actually. So not actually, but I mean, to read it is totally different than what people have, the little, memes or whatever that come out. It's like, no, you
Oh,
have the
yeah.
whole thing because it's all so juicy.
Oh, yeah. I've listened to some of his audios. Very, very good. I just love it. It's so relaxing.
He's got a very beautiful voice, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there was something that I was gonna say, and then I got distracted by Alan Watts. So okay, yeah, that thought is gone.
That's okay. It'll come back if it's important.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so this was bringing me then into, okay, so now I did want to bring this up too. So we touched on the 10 terrains of consciousness, right?
Yes.
So this is so fascinating. So now that after I read, the spiral hand, which by the way, I was like, I am not the fucking circle.
Right? The mind goes, I am much more beyond that.
Yeah,
I know I am.
I know. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, just to like, just to do it. So what? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. However, I was able to integrate a whole nother layer of the isness,
Nice.
And so when you and I are having conversations about the isness of everything and how we are just like one, that goes over other people's minds, because
Yeah.
it's very, so the next person that I'm having on here, oh no, that's Jess, but I'm having a male come on here and share a very intimate dialogue about his upbringing and whatnot. And it's hard. So I want to ask you, so how is it that when somebody is sharing very raw and encounters, raw and emotional encounters, do you just show up for them, right? Like, how do you show up for them with, knowing that we're all,
I figured that's what you were asking.
Yeah.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is a very good question. By holding space
Mhm.
where they are and not even interjecting what I know, because it's really difficult. And I remember how difficult it was in the beginning when I first started being more open and in my perspective being more open. It takes years. Not to say for everybody. For some, it could be a very short thing. It could be a near-death experience, and it's that quick that their eyes are open to the unity of everything and the perfection of everything. Living in this world in the polarity that is, of course, happening, it is really hard when we still have those charges that are triggers. So one of the things that's just so beautiful that I recently had the opportunity to have an expansion on is when sometimes I've been shocked when I hear people being triggered, and I would think, whoa, they get triggered? And I wouldn't fully understand how they could be getting triggered when I might not be, but it's not that I don't get triggered. So what I'm finding is there's a difference. We move from getting triggered and that instant reactiveness and staying in that reactiveness for a while, and getting and noticing a charge within us. So when we move past the triggers, because whatever work we're doing, and then we still feel like a charge that can come up, and it still has feeling there, but it doesn't trigger us to react anymore. It's more of a, I'm noticing there still is a charge in here when I'm hearing stuff like this or whatever, and it's really cool. But people in general, when we're working with people who are still in the trigger phase, that are still being triggered by past traumas and stuff, no way would you be like, well, everything's just one, that you can let that go and you can move on. It's easier said than done when we're still in that place. It takes time. And I remember when I first started moving towards this, and the person that was working with me would be like, I just don't think you're ready yet. You're still asking a ton of questions. And when the mind finally stops asking questions, and it's a whole different place.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, we have to meet people where they are. We can't expect people to even have a fathom of an understanding where we are now.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and holding space, that's so beautiful, because that is actually Matt Kahn just came out with this book that I forget what it is, like holding space. Like, what does that actually mean? Because you hear it so much, like everywhere. And it is, like you said, interjecting what we know, into other people's experiences, because it's all relative, for them. It's a very real thing.
And they are being affected by us holding space, because when we're in that space of unconditional love that's non-judgmental, they can relax more, and it energetically makes differences. Even if we don't say a word, silence is powerful.
It is. And that's what I feel a lot of people do have troubles with, is the silence.
Yeah, I did for a long time. I get it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
My mind still does. It's like, wait, I have something to say. And I'm like, you're not using my mouth anymore to cause chaos.
You can say whatever. I'm not expressing that. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and this is also really fascinating too, because this brings in another book, The Untethered Soul. So
I love that book. It's such a beautiful book.
It's so beautiful. And that is where one of the areas where I noticed, like, we are not our emotions, like when we become just the observer of everything that goes on within here, and not buying into it, it allows a space for so much healing and to go through, just life a lot.
They're just kids.
Yes.
They're just kids coming up going, hey, there's a charge here.
Emotions.
I'm ready to be let go.
Yeah, exactly.
We're transmuted.
Oh, yeah, this is super. Okay, so now I'm going to go, and it's not off subject because it's all connected. How can I pornography? I'm just going to say it, because this has been coming up in conversations for me. And so Your experience or your intake on pornography and all of, why is this coming up at this time? Because in that space, I have a whole different viewpoint of pornography and the people that participate in viewing that.
Mhm.
Emotions, trauma, there we go. Okay, there, do you see that if people are not aware of their traumas or they're still acting, is it, what am I actually saying here? I'm trying to like filter, and really I just don't want to filter. So I'm not going to filter. People who, you know, the pornography and people using their bodies to sell and everything, do you see this as a trauma, a fear-based action? That's whatever's coming through, because I don't even know.
Well, I think on the selling of the body, it can be for multiple different reasons. Like we talked one time before about the survival, just for basic survival means. Of course, you know, some people do it because they need to in order to live. Some people might do it because they are forced into doing it, of course, have no choice. Maybe that's karma. You know, for them, I was actually wondering about that the other day because we happened to watch Rambo, one of the Rambo movies. And I was like, you know, that's interesting because, you know, a lot of people would say that they don't have choice in it if they were, you know, kidnapped and forced into sex trafficking, basically.
Yeah.
And you know, I was like,
Huh.
okay, so where would that show up then possibly? Okay, karma, you know, when you're on the wheel of karma, I'm not saying that everybody has to experience or be in the wheel of karma still, but when we are still in the wheel of karma, there that may show up at that time. The other, it may be that there are some people that are highly sexual and they really enjoy multiple partners. I don't think it's always necessarily because of a bad thing or even a trauma, although it can be from a trauma if a person was raped at a young age and it wasn't, you know, not all rape experiences are traumatic to people. It can be a good experience to them because it wakes up their sexual side and they really enjoy that and they may pursue continuing that type of behavior. Whether it's considered like from trauma or not, or bad or good or whatever. I mean, because when we look at the overall oneness, of course, you know, it's like everything is happening as it is. And then with the pornography, can we just tie that back to possibly not getting the nurturing that we needed from both mom and dad?
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, sometimes it could be that it's an addiction that's covering something else, or it's an addiction to feeling good, to that orgasmic feeling, which is it's would be like somebody who is addicted to heroin, and that kind of bliss feeling, in a sense, euphoric, thank you, which is how we would express the emotion we would feel if we were very close to source. Although being close to source is really pre-emotion, but because we are in human bodies, the emotion we would feel with that would be an utter euphoric bliss.
Yeah.
And we could feel that through masturbating, through eroticness, through sex itself. And so that may be the reasons that that would come up, but it also can be from simple conditioning. The parents watch that stuff and it's just normal. So it may not even be from a trauma, or it could be, of course, from a trauma.
Oh, what the heck?
Oh, I can still hear and see you. And it looks like it still is recording. It's still showing recording and I'm still seeing you and me. Are you seeing something different on your screen?
Oh,
Because
there,
everything looks
okay.
good here.
Yeah, it said session. Oh, maybe that's probably because I signed up for the pro after.
Yeah, you just upgraded. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so this is like, and this is the pornography and sexuality. Like this just keeps on coming forward because it is such a sex addiction. You know what? And I know we've talked about this as we are very, sexual beings, and we both
Yeah.
have, and maybe it's not even sexual, maybe it's more sensual,
Yeah, I look at it as more sensual than
Yeah.
necessarily sexual because it's funny. I was just talking to my husband about this morning, and I'm like, so even though I'm a highly sexual person to a certain extent, not to the point of like what a nymphomaniac would be like per se, but when I'm working, when I'm doing my thing, what I love, I could go for a long time without. I don't even think about it. It doesn't come up. Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
but the cool thing is so like when he initiates, and at first I'm not even there. But because of our bond together, and we've been together for quite a while, and we're still learning each other, which is so cool. I love that. It's not like we know everything about each other. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it exciting. And not just, I'm not talking about sexually, I'm just talking about overall in the relationship. But we can still come together and it still is enjoyable, which is cool. And so, yeah. And so going back also, to the whole pornographic thing or the addictive sexual thing, I do know that in a relationship, when we're in relationship with another, and it doesn't matter which sex, but when one withholds from the other or holds it over the other, that can also cause an issue. And also, I can say that when a woman is demeaning to the man, and especially like like if your husband was raised in the environment where their mom was demeaning to their dad, and their dad had that type of proclivity of the pornographic or looking at other women, which is understandable, sorry, but come on people, that they marry somebody and then they experience the same thing, that can also cause, of course, any man or even woman, if it's vice versa. I mean, I'm not saying it's only men who have these issues. It probably is more prevalent in men. In my experience, it is, but that's just my little experience, in my life. That has been a definite issue. So with one of my husbands, that was the way his mom and dad were. And then I was that way, unfortunately, in the beginning of our relationship, where I was demeaning. But the other thing too can just, just all of that can play into, the woman could be distant, or even the man, it could be more than just the demeaning type behavior. It could be a pride, a pride behavior, an arrogance, anything like that. When a woman is more masculine in her energy and the man isn't, and he's not necessarily strongly comfortable in his own way of being and the wife's way of being, and this could be for the wife with the husband, it also can cause issues in the marriage, whether that would tend to move towards pornographic type addiction, sex addiction, or some other addiction. It doesn't have to be pornographic. It could be drug, it could be alcohol. A lot of times alcohol comes into play in those things, like my husband and I at that time, the one that I was married to that I was demeaning towards, we were alcoholics. I drank every day. And so did he. And that's how we kind of got along, I think. But we had a lot of fun, not to say that we didn't, but there were just certain areas in our marriage that we were immature.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was all learning. It was all learning.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's really yeah, I guess I'm just looking at, because I know, and then you bring up the betrayal, you know,
The feeling betrayed whenever that happens, when a partner, when you're with somebody, marriage or not, and you want to have sex but are rejected with a no, only to come to find out they're jacking off in the bathroom. Yeah, that's kind of
yeah,
okay. Hello.
yeah. I
Not
have
cool at all.
no, and and that's so, because I have experienced that too with one of one of my exes, obviously, but yeah, that's really painful. That's really,
Yeah, I actually talked to my current husband about that, and I've told him right up front. I said, look, if I want sex and you don't give it to me and you're in the bathroom jacking off, I'm gonna be pretty pissed.
oh yeah, I mean, like, it just feels like, what, so I'm nothing, or you're not,
Right? I'm not able to satisfy you like you are.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's nothing wrong with doing that. It's inappropriate times,
right,
not doing it whenever you're going to then neglect your significant other.
yeah, and I think, yeah, that's huge. And also, what else is going on there too, like, what
Yeah.
not letting me in on, or
Right.
yeah. So, and this is fascinating, because as I embark on a new relationship myself, I don't have what is healthy, like, I don't have a reference point as to what is, and I don't even want healthy to be a reference point. What is a good reference point? Wellness, having my needs met, feeling, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that even looks like. I'm just want to honor myself and the process without, I guess, just honoring myself. So it's just
Absolutely.
fun and very fascinating to explore all facets of.
Oh, absolutely. And I do want to say something in light of that, because astrologically speaking, one of the coolest things that I got to learn when I was in evolutionary astrology school is that there is a way in the chart to see what a person's essential needs are. When we really know what our essential needs are, and we're able to see what a potential partner's essential needs are, and we can talk about those things, it really does help, because then we're not trying to get the other person to meet our needs in a needy way, but we
Right.
know what our needs are then that are essential to us, and it really can help the other partner to understand us better. And a really good example would be, I had a friend of mine reach out to me because she was having an issue in her relationship. And when I was able to help her see what his essential needs were, everything clicked. I mean, literally, like, you could take what somebody's doing in a wrong way, in a negative way, and thinking, I need to interject the positive way of doing this. But when we can see the essential need, that necessarily would not be the way, that this other way would be a better, or just being able to allow the person to be who they freaking are.
Yeah.
Allow them to be okay with what their essential needs are, not try to change them and change those. It's so important. And that's all that any of us really want in a relationship, to be allowed to be who we are and not have somebody try to change us to fit how
Yeah.
they are. I mean, I did that. I tried to change my husband. It was like, yeah, no, Aquarius sun, are you kidding me? No, that is not happening.
Yeah, like, and then how long did it take for you to see that was just got even more stubborn?
Oh my gosh, it was years, but I'll tell you, life is so much easier letting my husband be him, and I get to enjoy being me and
Yeah.
not having to change that. I mean, we are so totally opposite. It's not even funny. Matter of fact, I was watching one of the episodes of Lock, the Lock and Key. Is that what it's
Oh
called?
yeah, 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 yeah.
That series is crazy. It took me a minute to really get into it. It's like, wait, do I really want to watch it? Okay, yeah, this is cool.
Ugh.
So an episode I watched last night where the black man, the principal,
Yeah.
is talking to the lady about his wife and how different they were. There was nothing they really saw on the same level until she brought up her love for plants. They then had something to connect with, and that helped them to connect with everything else. And I thought that is the most awesome thing because that's the way it is with my husband and I. There are certain things that him and I love and connect with. All the rest, whatever, but we're able to allow each other be where we are in our differences, and we can still meet with each other in those places, although
Mhm.
we may not go deep into them. Like he doesn't come to me, hey, what's my astrology and my human design? It's more like, do I have to hear this again? So I have to make it short, and like when he's talking about certain things, it's like, okay, make it quick, this, I don't want to talk about this, and so it's kind of a joke, type thing.
No, it totally, I totally understand. And see, and that's where I feel it's so important too, that we do get to know, love, understand, and unconditionally accept ourselves. So we don't try to lose ourselves in our relationship, and
And
B,
they're
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
in the same one.
So you've been at both sides of the spectrum with this marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, with this marriage, yep. And it's been really, and I mean, definitely eye-opening.
So I would like to also then, because, okay, so you first met your current husband when you were married to somebody else, correct?
No, I was
Oh,
20 years old. I was not
okay.
married. I
Okay.
was a single mom, and he's a 2-4. Matter of fact, in human design, 2-4s generally meet their significant others or jobs and other stuff like that through their network, through other people.
Okay.
So I met my current husband through my brother. And when I first met him, I was like, it was instant. I was dating somebody though. And he told my brother that he was interested in me. And my brother told him there's absolutely no way my sister would have anything to do with you. Yeah, right. That's a good one.
So, okay, so you met when you were 20, and then, because I know that you had a lot of time apart. How many years apart did you guys have?
Yeah, so this is funny. I was just contemplating this the other day. We only were together for 3 months and I got
Mhm.
pregnant. And then we broke up, and we were broken up for 10 years before I got in touch with him, or before we ended up in contact with each other again. And I had been married twice during that time and had one other child. So interesting.
Yes, it is. And then, okay, so then he got out of prison. Wait, were you guys together when he was in prison?
Only for the last like 6 months,
Okay.
or not even 6 months, about 4 or 5 months before he got out. We decided to give it a go.
So how did you reach out to him, or he reached out to you when he was in prison, or like,
No, actually, so I lived in a small town north of Spokane,
okay.
and which is a bigger city. And
Mhm.
I used to work in Spokane selling cars when I was going through my second divorce. And his mom apparently was living in Deer Park, which is another town in between the two. And I happened to stop in there at a grocery store, and I ran into her for the first time in 10 years since I'd seen her. And we got to talking, and she asked me to come over because Eddie was going to be calling her, and she wanted to surprise him. So I'm like, okay, sure. So I came over after work, and when he called, I talked to him and stuff. But yeah, we were both, kind of seeing other people. Well, I mean, in prison, they have people that they talk to outside or whatever from
Right.
his hometown or wherever. But yeah, and I was doing the Match.com thing, and so funny. But yeah, so that was in, excuse me, 2002. And so I started, he was close enough, and close enough to like where my brother lived in Northern Oregon. I was, my middle child was staying with him. And so I was going down and visiting Eddie in prison, and brought Nate, who is our son, together so they could meet. And so we started doing visitations, I think once a month or something like that. And then fast forward to 2003, we started talking a little more serious around August. And then, so by the end of August, beginning of September, we decided to go ahead and give it a go whenever he got out.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was interesting. But I still loved him, and but what's really funny is, okay, so him and I, we have had that hate love. He wanted to kill me. I wanted to kill him. I mean, like, he would have dreams of literally killing me type thing. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But he's got like two personalities, schizoaffective. I've literally seen the evil side of him, which was really eye-opening when that happened. And it was like, wow. But when you can really love somebody and all their aspects and all that, no matter what, unconditionally, really makes a huge difference. And what's really cool is, like, before I saw that, I already knew that he was schizoaffective, and I figured out over the time that he had like these two different personalities. And I think that's part of that schizo thing. And I don't look at schizophrenia the same way that mainstream does, just so you know. I read a book by James, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but talks about schizophrenia. And schizophrenia is very much so like before we had consciousness, when the gods were basically talking before the split of the left and right hemispheres, and it was all one. And the way the gods would talk to us, and we would do from that. That's basically what schizophrenia is.
Wow.
So yeah,
that makes so much. That feels so right. Like,
right? When I read that, I was just like, oh my God, this feels so much better.
yeah.
So with the whole thing about the two different personalities, what I've noticed, and especially lately, is more and more of the lighter personality, what I call the more friendly personality comes out, which is really cool. And yeah, I mean, it was just really neat to be able to get to witness those different things, and to witness how he is. I mean, he functions so well, it's not even funny, compared to before and everything in society. So it's really, really cool.
Like, yeah. And because you allow him the space to be just exactly how he is, without like forcing him in any type of one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. And human design is what, honestly, I have to say, human design is what really helped me see that. Because when I first got into human design, one of the things that a teacher shared with me right from the get-go was what's called the radical transformation. It's about our motivation and our view, and a couple of other points, but looking mostly from the conscious side of human design, our motivation and our view. So I really thought that everybody's perspective was the same, and I thought people should generally be the same. Sameness. I was in the sameness loop. And so it was really cool breaking out of that and getting to understand and be okay with everybody's different perspectives without feeling like I needed to get people to see from where I'm seeing, from where I'm seeing knowing.
Yeah.
That's one of my blogs, from where I'm seeing knowing. And it just is, it's really freeing to be able to be okay with everything.
Yeah. It is because, yeah, exactly. You don't have the mind or the prison of the mind there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Very
what
much.
got you, how did you come to human design exactly? And astrology, I know astrology was first. So like, how did you come to that? Because a lot of people, at least in my experience, like I came to astrology because of this really dark space that I was in and wanting to understand that space more. So how did you come to astrology and human design?
So in 2013, I started to wake up. And in 2014, well, see, first I wasn't even looking at astrology. I was like reading Bob Proctor and stuff like that, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out about astrology and I thought, oh, I want to check that out. But I found out about predictive astrology and I was really interested in learning. And I heard that Vedic astrology is the astrology to learn for that. So I was learning both Western and Vedic astrology. But the reason why was because I was trying to get back to who I am. I was trying to get to know myself again because all those years I I forgot myself. I mean, like I literally gave away my power and totally forgot myself, ended up diagnosed with fibromyalgia and was a whole different person. Whole different person. So in 2017, I got, of course, more into astrology and I met somebody. We were talking about the gut connection to the brain. And because I was the only one that was talking with him about this because I got it. I grew up in a health food store, so I know about this stuff. He said, I really think you would like human design. I think, if you're wanting to get to know yourself, that's right. I told him I got into it in astrology to get to know myself better through conversation about this gut brain thing. And he said, well, I really think you'll like human design, and left it at that. He never said anything else. And it was a good thing because my design is all about me finding out for myself, doing for myself, not being taught per se.
Right.
So I went on Kindle and I bought Chetan books, Chetan Parkin.
Yeah.
He has actually 3 books, but I ended up buying just the first 2, the human design, going through all of that. And then the Destinies book, because I had to do with the crosses. So I bought those and I played with mine. I played with a few other people's. But then I put it down for a little bit and got back into Christianity. I think I told you about that.
Yeah.
And then so that was in November of 2017. And then in September 2018, I got back into my books and human design and I looked some stuff up online. I knew nothing about Facebook groups at that time. I wasn't even really on Facebook during that time much. And I came across Facebook group 35HD. So that was my first experience. And then a generators group. I was reading a lot of this woman called Evelyn, or named Evelyn. She was a student of Karen Curry Parker's.
Okay.
And so that was, I started reading a lot about that. I learned a little bit about Ra, and I was at the time not really interested or considering going down that rabbit hole just yet because I was reading. I learned about the gene keys and I got that book, and I was doing a lot of reading of Stephen Rhodes, who's one of my very favorite human design teachers, actually. I had forgotten about because I haven't looked at his material in a while, but I
Mhm.
have all of his books. And then I was I received access to somebody's library that had a lot of Ross material in it, and I took the deep dive into that, and I inhaled that information, inhaled it. I mean, every day, every night, that's all I did. Human design, I'm reading, listening, watching, writing, reading, listening, watching, writing, connecting with people through the Facebook groups. And at this time, my mind, of course, it's all mind candy, and I'm getting into the complexity of it. I have a mercurial mind,
Mhm.
very much so. That, this is all just part of my trajectory. And so it's just really cool. And then I had my very first mushroom trip, which was so awesome. It was just amazing. And not in a way that most people would think, though. um,
How so?
anyways, I'll tell you here in just a minute. So
Okay.
within a week after that, I had 3 nights in a row of downloads of human design when Jupiter moved into Sagittarius at that time, which is where my Jupiter happens to be.
Uh-huh.
And then that all unfolded over the next year or two. And there was a lot of, I was shown a lot of the shadows and the dark and the light and all this, just an array of different things. It was amazing and crazy and cool at the same time. So my first mushroom trip, so I have the 515, and anybody who has the 15 has a humongous aura. And I was raised by projector and a manifester. And my mom, who's the projector, would always, not always tell me, but she would try to help me to calm my energy down a bit. I was a lot to her. And I really got to see it
Hmm.
when I was on that shroom trip. I got to see the bigness of me, but I also got to see that I'm everything and everything is me. And I also got to see the illusion, the fakeness of, over a course of several trips. I got to see the fakeness. So like, there are times where I could be outside and I'm just enjoying the beauty, but then I could see like it's a picture. It's a picture. An image is not necessarily like real, because it's all energy. I mean, really what it boils down to is just all energy. Everything is really in waves. But when we focus on it, that wave collapses and we see the actual object. So it's just really interesting and fascinating when that happens. And my mind before was like, yeah, we're gonna say everything is fake and blah blah blah. The mind's like, I'm busy over here doing all this stuff for you. And it's just like, well, I'm here and I'm just enjoying the beauty of it no matter what it is. I don't give a rip. If I'm enjoying my life and it feels good to me, that's what counts. And that's how my energy best works. But I do have a brilliant mind, and my mind loves complex things. My mind loves to philosophize, whatever. It's
Philosophy. I like
Thank you.
that.
It's philosophical. I can't help it. I mean, I have Mercury and Sagittarius. It's in the 7th house. So I'm sharing it with other people. There are extremes to it at times. And I've been on the extremes. So I know I've been that fundamentalist. You're going to hell, Christian. And I've been that everything is all fine just the way it is. And there's nothing to worry about or do, or we're just being. It's just about beingness.
Yeah. And that, I mean, as simple as it sounds, it's like the most difficult thing, right?
The what? Say that again.
Being, the beingness is, just, it's
It is.
simple sounding.
It's really simple, but it's the hardest thing because, I mean, when you're trying, it's not about that. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm going to practice being. Then you're not being. I mean, you're just not being. I mean, it really is just an allowing of yourself not to, the mind's going, yeah, but we need to be doing this and blah, 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 blah. And it's allowing that my body's not moving. I mean, the best example for me that really helped me to grasp this was when Ra was talking about how I think it was that he did a reading or something, and his mind was concerned about what the person was thinking, and the person was calling him, and the mind's going, you've got to pick up the phone, you've got to talk to that person, you got to do this, you got to say that. And he just goes, funny, the body's not moving. And I'm like, that's a good one, because I've noticed that with myself. The mind could be like, you need to, da, 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 da. Body's still sitting here being just fine.
That is so fascinating, because that's exactly what I was doing, or how I was experiencing yesterday. Like, and I made a quick little video on it too. I should, because it's just like, no, I can just be like, why does it have to be anything else? It doesn't.
Yeah.
I just am watching whatever I want to. I can do whatever I want to do. I'm totally awesome this way.
Yes, yes. But of course, then the mind's like, oh, shouldn't you answer that right now? Shouldn't you reply to that person right now? Oh, if you don't, they're going to think this or that or the other. And it's like, I had to get over that quite a bit, because my mind is really bad about that. Why isn't that person answering me right now? I know they see it. How come I'm not, I'm thinking, why aren't you answering that person? They're going to freak out because you're taking your time.
Yeah. And see, and that's the beautiful thing with all of these tools like human design and astrology. It just allows you to observe, again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, and it allows us to get back to just ourselves.
Like giving us permission.
Yes, like to undo all of the conditioning. So
I love how you said undo, because it's more about an undoing than anything else, a releasing.
Yep. And unbecoming.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when those charges come up, going back to the triggers, when you can feel the charge and just not feel like you have to do anything about it.
Right.
It's so awesome, because, back to those 10 terrains, even at the unity level, for example, the knowing of the oneness, the infinity.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't still live life as a human with a personality.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't mean you don't still get pissed at times, It doesn't mean that you don't still feel the energy moving through you. You may not be triggered by it. It may be a charge, and it's like, oh, that's cool. That energy is still percolating and releasing from me in however that looks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just the thing. And I think, this is a whole other conversation too, but the people who
we could tap into another time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love how it's coming back around to the beginning.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So yes, it is. So, just us, even as much as like conversation that we put into all of these aspects of self and of relationships, it is always just knowing that isn't the truth. That isn't the ultimate truth. It's just all an exploring of, it's just an exploring of the mind, and knowing, different ways to traverse the conditioning and tricking the mind, but not tricking the mind,
Sometimes it is a tricking of the mind, for sure.
Yeah.
Or letting the mind drone out on something else while you're doing your thing, type thing.
So very cool. Yeah. That's so 2018. That's kind of like when I had my, I'm just thinking back, September 2018. That's when I had like my awakening, of sorts. So that's really also a fascinating detail there too. Huh.
I love it.
So, well, very cool. I love our conversation.
Me too. This is so much fun.
It is so much fun. And and I'm like, I don't even care I'm just gonna put this stuff out there, and whoever gravitates towards it and gets something from it, that's exactly, whatever, how
Yep.
it's meant to be.
Those on our fractal, find us. We don't need to worry about the how, the when, or anything like that.
Yeah, because I love having like you to come back to discuss and explore these things with each other, because it's such a great symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, and it's something fun and a little bit of a break, and we're able to talk about some serious stuff, but also some more lighter stuff, and from just a little bit different consciousness maybe than where some that are dealing with trauma. But there are going to be people who are where we are on their trauma journey or on their journey in life, and moving through and beyond trauma, or maybe not even being affected in the same way others are. So there's all different ways and all different people that can tap into the different guests that you have that they resonate with, which is beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. So yay.
Hey, well, thank you for having me again.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. I'm so honored. So thank you. And we will talk soon.
Yep.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.